Hello, everyone. This is Darcinovia here, back once again with another review on expanded universe material. This time, it's on the first story arc of Rebellion. Unfortunately, this is the last story featuring Genik Sumbar, Tank. If you know, in A New Hope, Luke does mention a friend by that name. Unfortunately, this is the last, you know, story arc featuring this character, and unfortunately, this is it. And I thought he was a good character. I mean, he was featured in a few arcs, and I felt like, he was a really good character, and I felt like there was still a lot that could have been done with this character, and unfortunately, his storyline ends here. And it seems like this comic was setting up, another story arc featuring this character, which never happened, which is another reason why the story is not as good as it could have been. Honestly, I do think it's a good story. You know, I've heard this is the best of the stories in the Rebellion comics, but it's nowhere near as good as the other comics I've read in this era. Rebellion, I do think, at least for the first 5 issues, My Brother, My Enemy, is a good comic because we explore you know Luke at this point in the Rebellion era and how he's feeling about this, and there's some conflict between him and Leia, considering you know Tank is one of his best friends, and it's difficult for Luke to fight against someone that was his childhood friend. Now, the person they've rescued in the previous story arc, he, and along with Tank are spies that almost destroyed the rebellion. In Star Wars Legends, the rebellion could have easily have ended here. And his fate is unknown. Tank, what happens to him? It's unfortunate, but this is one of the many storylines that were abandoned in the EU, and one of the many because you don't know certain characters' fates. Quinlan Voss being one of them. Tank is another character. What happens to him? Is he dead? Did he die in this? I know they should have escape pod. What happened to him? Unfortunately, they never revisited this character after this comic, which is unfortunate, considering the fact that the original trilogy is like a gold mine for stories, at least between A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back. You would figure at some point they would have revisited this storyline in a comic like later, but they didn't. Like after this series ended, with the Vector series, they just abandoned the storyline. Oh, fuck it. I guess the storyline is not important. It's unfortunate because a character that knew Luke Skywalker as a child and grew up with him, I would have wanted to actually see his storyline continue. I don't expect to see him like in post Return of the Jedi stories, but I would at least would like to his character expanded upon. And it's unfortunate that his storyline ends here when I feel like there was still some potential. There was some conflict with him with Sunbar, and I wanted to see more. And well, considering this is a different art style from the previous comic, I think the art's pretty good in this comic, in my opinion. I actually think this is a personal preference. I actually think it's pretty good, this comic, at least in terms of the artwork. Even though Tank doesn't appear until like later in the comic, I still think it's a decent story. I don't think that it's as good as some of the other comics I've been reviewing for the past few months, but I do think it's a solid read. If you've enjoyed all the other stories for Empire, I'd give this a read. In my opinion, I think this comic should have been an arc for the Empire series, not for Rebellion, because this feels like this is a direct continuation of the Empire comics, and I feel like there was no reason for them to like go back to a number one again with Rebellion, because it's essentially the same series. And honestly, this is Darcenovia, over and out. May the Force be with you and stay safe. Later.